Champions Cup group stage has come to a conclusion, folks, with a pretty bizarre fourth round. You had some matches well and truly fitting of a final round of a Champions Cup. In terms of the group stage, Northampton and Munster was a proper ding-dong battle. Clermont's victory in their game took them well into the red with the clock, well into the red. The score was tied up. And then you got other games where Leicester had 80 points put on them. Literally a point a minute from Toulouse. Damien Penaud scored 6 tries for Bordeaux. There's only realistically a handful of sides which look like they could win this. But the knockout stage should be pretty interesting. This round was a mix, as I said. Some results were bizarre. Some were cracking, but we'll go through them. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how the group stage has gone. The only 4 teams which are totally out of European rugby are Exeter, Bristol, Stade Français and the Stormers. Everyone else is still alive in one competition or the other. Ulster and Exeter started the week off. I did a full match review for that one if you haven't seen it, but in a nutshell, Izzy Chukwu getting a hat-trick was probably not expected. You don't generally pick like a lock loose forward dude to be one of your hat-trick scorers, but he certainly did well. Didn't even get man of the match in that one, bizarrely, but he scored the hat-trick try after man of the match had been announced. But 52-24 in what was a very open and entertaining game of rugby. The penalty count in that game was very low. Holly Davidson was the ref. She didn't blow the whistle when she didn't need to blow the whistle, and it made for a really entertaining game of rugby. I mean, 52-24 is pretty lopsided in the end of things, but Exeter gave a good showing of themselves. For a while, they scored some nice tries. Brown Bampo got one. Ross Vincent scored an absolutely highlight-worthy try where he went kind of 3/4 of the field. But, Timony scored an equally nice one. Carson was in good form for Ulster. So, Vincent made 29 tackles in a losing shift. Ben Carson, 5 defenders beaten. And Ulster, with that win, booked themselves a spot in the Champions Cup knockout stage with just the one win of the group stages. I do feel like the format of the competition still needs a bit of work. But hey, Ulster, you may have rather be going through the Challenge Cup, to be honest, because it looks like a hard road when you play Bordeaux. But hey, it's another week where you get to stay alive in the Champions Cup. Second match was the Bulls and Stade Français. Neither of these sides are going to be troubling us in the knockout stages of the Champions Cup, as the Bulls are off to the Challenge Cup. Stade Français, European rugby is done for them for this season. But 48-7 is a hiding, which probably not going to be that memorable. As I said, just in terms of neither of these sides are going to go through to the next stage of the competition. But I mean, Cameron Hanekom continues to be an absolute unit. He powers through for a try in this game. Likewise does HARvGLA. Steve McHan showed a bit of gas when he intercepted a ball for Borta Chamberlain's try. And the Bulls were going a point a minute early in this one, but didn't quite match Toulouse's 80 points. Finished with 48. Not a bad effort, but as I said, Champions Cup is done for both of those sides. They may be happy about that fact. The Bulls maybe can push for a Challenge Cup if Jake White decides to put some focus there. Northampton and Munster, definitely one of the games of the weekend, and certainly one that kind of lives up to the Champions Cup billing. 34-32. Northampton get that win. The Pollock turnover at the death is the kind of game winner, as Munster were chasing them down. Tom Seabrook ends up getting a hat-trick. He ended up showing some real gas, especially that final try where he gassed Haley, but Langdon got one as well, a more try before halftime. Ram got one and a couple of try assists for Seabrook as well. Some pretty slick stuff from Northampton. And speaking of gas, Nash, he's got some wheels for Munster as well. He certainly gassed Mitchell for his first one. So 15-5 lead at one point, down 27-18 with like 17 minutes to go. Score a try to keep the game alive. So proper tit-for-tat stuff. And both these sides will be going through to the knockout stages. Northampton will be home for their one. Munster will be away. So, you don't know if either of these sides is really going to... Well, they're going to be dark horses at best, aren't they? Like, neither of Northampton or Munster is predicted to do what, like, Toulouse, Bordeaux, or Leinster are at the moment. But, hey, They are still alive for another week. Clermont and Bristol, that's the one that went right down to the wire, deeper than the wire, because it went to like 86 minutes when Clermont got the winner. Bristol were behind a couple of times, but managed to even it up. It was, 68 minutes? They made it 19 points apiece when Heward scored. They made it 26 points apiece when Marmion scored on 78 minutes, despite the fact that Bristol had a yellow card. But, I mean, Rucker had bagged a couple of tries in this game for Clermont, and then 87 minutes. They get it done. There's a little bit of controversy about a Clermont penalty try on this one on 77 minutes, which the TMO highlighted after the referee had already said kind of Bristol's maul defence was good, but the TMO spotted an infringement, and it ended up being a penalty try and yellow card. So, yeah, big turnaround in that game, but, yeah, craziness. The turnover counts 8-2 in Clermont's favour, which is obviously one you want to have, and Bristol's line-out didn't seem to be operating all that well. But yeah, Bristol, European rugby is also done for them, where Clermont have kept their Champions Cup season alive, albeit away from home. Benetton and La Rochelle, that one's another one of these kind of cracking arm wrestle games. La Rochelle has been one of those three teams in recent years, alongside Leinster and Toulouse, to be right up there at the end of the season, but they're looking a little bit shakier this season. Their record of the pool stage is only 2-2, so 2 wins, 2 losses, which is maybe a little bit unexpected. I don't think many people, if you looked at the start of the season, would have expected La Rochelle to be where they're at, like on the top 14 table, or to be losing away to Benetton. 32 points to 25. Canone, he got a try for Benetton, and then Bernasconi on 67 minutes managed to get one for Benetton, but it was largely penalties from Albanoz and Rhino Smith that kept the scoreboard ticking over. La Rochelle got one from Knoll and a couple through Curbalo, who had a busy outing. 2 tries and a yellow card for Curbalo, but the penalty count for La Rochelle was pretty horrendous. 16 to Benetton's 9, and Benetton, like I said, quite happy to keep the scoreboard ticking over. So a famous victory for them. And they go through to the next round of the Champions Cup to face Castres, which is not one that I would have picked. Castres don't usually focus on the Champions Cup, and Benetton is not a side that I associate with going into the knockout stages of the Champions Cup, but here we are. So well done to Benetton. Famous victory for them. Aldrit and Lorenzo Canone very busy on the carry for both sides in that one, which is fitting ahead of the Six Nations. Leinster and Bath, again, there's a full match review for that one, but Leinster got their attack going, which has been pleasing because we've been talking up their defence in recent weeks, how they've been strangling teams, but they unleashed 47 points to 21. It's maybe not as many points as Bordeaux or Toulouse scored, but it was pleasing to see Leinster really let go. They were given a bit of a scare early when Bath went ahead with a couple of tries, Barbary and de Glanville, but it didn't take them too long to get back in front. Henshaw, man of the match effort from him, couple of tries. Sneyman came off the bench and was just a proper difference maker. Geordie Barrett had a really good game. Ringrose got a try. He was playing on the wing. Gibson Park got one. So, yeah. The Obano red card didn't help Bath's cause. It was a weird one because it was a second yellow card. His second yellow card comes from a scrum infringement, but as I mentioned in the match review, probably should have been subbed before it got to that point. So, yeah, unfortunate for Bath. Lawrence looked all right. 6 defenders beaten. It's not a bad shift against a pretty stingy Leinster defence. And they're one of the few teams to actually put a few tries on Leinster, but yeah, nothing doing for them. So it's off to the Challenge Cup for Bath, and Leinster through to the knockout stages with a perfect record. Harlequins in Glasgow. I watched that one as well. Full match review, but Glasgow just didn't look their normal selves. And Harlequins didn't really cost them that they didn't get the bonus point, because they finished, I think, with 9 points overall. They could have had 10, but they end up going to Leinster in their next game. I think it could have been potentially Toulouse. Either one of those prospects is not great, but didn't cost them anything in terms of Champions Cup qualification. Cunningham South, Chisholm and Murley got their tries, but no bonus point. Like I mentioned, Tom Jordan got the only one for Glasgow, but Glasgow's attack just didn't look sharp. They were dropping a lot of ball. Turnovers conceded finished 21-15. So, yeah, a fair bit more drop ball from Glasgow, which, as I said, is kind of uncharacteristic because they're usually a pretty slick team, but well done to Quince for keeping them to only 7 points. We'll see what they can do when they play Leinster next. And Glasgow's obviously through as well. They finished top qualifier. They'll play Leicester, which will be a pretty fascinating one, because that looks, of all the knockout stage of matches, to be more one of the kind of evenly matched ones. Racing and the Stormers, 31-22 to Racing. Neither of these sides is going through to the Champions Cup next round either, but Racing get themselves a win. Habossi and Spring got a couple of tries each. Spring's chip and gather. That was a pretty nice one. The Stormers got 3. They did make it 24-22 when Tennyson went over on 65 minutes, but yeah, Racing were able to score through Palu on 77 to really put it beyond doubt. Former Stormers man Daimani makes 16 tackles for Racing against his old side. Habossi beat a bunch of defenders, I think 10 all up. And Evan Roos had 18 carries, so it was certainly busy around the park. But as I said, it's the end of the Champions Cup road for both of those sides. Bordeaux and the Sharks. Goodness me, Ulster would have been watching this one with interest, because it's going to be the points difference that would decide who went through to the Champions Cup and who was in the Challenge Cup. Like, the Ulster guys needed a big Bordeaux win. They may have not wanted it if they wanted to have a shot at the Challenge Cup, but the Sharks scored a couple of the tries earlier to really put the points difference in the Sharks' favour. They had a 12-0 lead. Masuku and Kunene getting early tries, but yeah, then Pinot scored 6. Quite unbelievable. I mean, Luku, Boniface, Moefana, all these guys got tries as well, but Pinot, 6 tries. Like, I don't know what else to say. That's unbelievable. The comment sections and some of the social media stuff was pretty rotten after that one. Sharks fans are putting the boot into their own team as much as anybody else's, because, geez, that's... Like, they had some big guys playing for them. Like, some of these guys are Springboks. I mean, Grant Williams is a Springbok. He missed 4 tackles. Jason Jenkins missed 4 tackles. Sia Masuku missed 4 tackles. Tackle percentage for the side is 74%, which is not the lowest I've seen, but that's pretty bad. But Bordeaux have been absolutely an attacking weapon of a side this Champions Cup. So you feel like they've taken, at the moment, in terms of the kind of favourites, they've taken a step up in terms of how far you think they might go, just based on how much trouble they are causing sides. So both sides had yellow cards, but yeah, Bordeaux, after going down early, totally put the Sharks to the score. 66 unanswered points is bonkers. Saracens and Castres, 32-24 to Castres. That game is probably going to go under the radar a bit, because Castres is not one of the big fancy name teams like Toulouse and like Bordeaux is at the moment. Like, they don't have the kind of French national team players that some of the other top 14 sides have, but that's a big win away from home at Sarries. Like, that's a big win. As I mentioned, Castres is not a side that usually focuses on the Champions Cup, but they're going to be a home qualifier. That's crazy. I mean, there were tries to Theo Dan, he got a couple. Ben Earl got a couple, but, I mean, it was the Castres boys that scored first. Takino. Elliot Daly got flattened at one point. Ben Earl got flattened at one point, so they scored some nice tries, did the Castres guys. And despite the fact that Sarries were 24-17 up at one point, Castres put on some tries and were able to get themselves a famous away win. So as I mentioned, it's not going to get the headlines that 80 points that Toulouse scored is, but that's a really, really big win for Castres. So I'd be wearing your jersey if I owned it, Castres, because that is a big achievement. Like, line breaks being 5-2 is maybe indicative of how sharp they were. When they got the ball wide, they looked really, really dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, 80 points to 12. Like, that's not a good look for the competition. You can't be having a team which concedes 80 points. I know Toulouse are unbelievable. I think probably pretty... am I right to say undoubtedly? Leinster fans will disagree. Like, the best club side in the world at the minute. Come on, Leinster's unbelievable, but Toulouse... I don't know. Champions Cup knockout stage is going to be fascinating, but geez, Toulouse look good. Dupont, 2 tries. Delib got a try. That one was bonkers. The cross-kicking was Dupont to Capuozzo stays in field, gets a Delib, he gets a try. Meafu got a couple. The 1-2 he played with Clermont was fantastic. Capuozzo got a couple himself. He put the gas down. on one of the Leicester chasers. He's unbelievable. Marchand, Flamand, Ramos, Lebel, unbelievable. So many tries. Like, you can't be conceding 80 points. Yeah, line breaks is 16-4. Freddie Stewart coughs up 6 balls. Jack Willis wins 5 turnovers. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, that's not a good look for the comp. I mean, that's a great headline. A point a minute is like a video game level score. That's just unbelievable. I'm pretty much at a loss for words for that one, but good luck, Sale, when the Champions Cup gets back underway. Sale, speaking of them, their win of 33-7 over Toulon sees them face Toulouse in the next stage. They scored some nice tries. It was a close game. I was thinking about watching this one live, but I opted to stay in bed, and I checked my phone. It was half-time, and it was 7-0. I thought, well, that's a bit of a low-scoring game. Maybe I should have watched the second half, because Roebuck added to his first with the second. Ben Curry put a little grubber through after a line break, which he was able to regather for a try. That's phenomenal. Bevan Rod got one. O'Flaherty got one from turnover ball. He got the high knees pumping with some real gas. Just the one try to Coulon for Toulon. But, yeah. Sale don't look like a team that's going to do that well in the Champions Cup, but they are through to the next round. Like, which of these sides are genuinely contenders at the moment? It looks like Leinster, Toulouse, Bordeaux, based on form, and maybe La Rochelle, just based on the fact that they've got the pedigree. It doesn't look like anyone else is going to make, like I might have said Glasgow were a dark horse, but they looked pretty quiet at the weekend, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it looks like a 3 or 4 horse race. Maybe I'm being a bit stingy to write off some of these other sides, but the knockout stages will feature Toulon against Saracens. I think that'll be a good game. That one could go either way. La Rochelle up against Munster. That seems like must-watch viewing because of the O'Gara factor, but that could be a good game. Bordeaux against Ulster. I'm sorry, Ulster fans. I think you're in for a hard day at the office, but sports are a funny thing. Upsets happen, but it looks like a tough one. Likewise, Toulouse and the Sharks look like it should be a big scoreline. Probably Leinster and Harlequins as well. Those 3 games, I would say, probably have the biggest scorelines written on them just as we sit here kind of mid-January. Castres and Benetton will probably be the game that gets the least coverage, but it should be an interesting one. And Northampton, Clermont, Glasgow, Leicester, I think also should be pretty good games. It's mainly these teams that are kind of the favourites for the titles, which look like their games will be blowouts. And then everyone else is kind of just waiting, sorry Leicester, waiting for their chance to get knocked out by Bordeaux, Toulouse and Leinster. Maybe La Rochelle. But yeah, maybe I'm being a bit glib. I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts. How do you reckon the group stage has gone? It's a funny one because there are some classics and there are some proper stinkers. But yeah, 80 points. 80 points to lose. Are looking a beast of a side. You guys let me know your thoughts. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ta-da.